Are you ready to party? Let's go.
Welcome back to our September monthly review. We have myself. Hit it, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Myself, Tim Fisher. We have Sam Kamalafe.
Yeah.
And the man with the plan, Jordan Giviola.
Man with the plan. All
yeah.
right. Well,
Shout out to Jordan. Or to Jordan. to
thanks.
I'm sorry, to Evan. Evan couldn't be here. Family first. We understand that.
100%.
We are on board with that. But he's with his family. We miss you, dude. Shout out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What'd you guys say? He thinks and he's a.
He lives and thinks.
He lives and thinks.
Talking about he's so unique because typically someone so muscular doesn't typically be super introspective.
That was so funny. He
Right.
lifts anything.
And he's like a really intelligent dude. Shout out, Evan. We miss you. Until next time, we'll get you on.
That's right, Evan. You'll be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into this. I just got back from Crested Butte, Colorado.
That's right.
Never been to Crested Butte. Yeah, I've been to Denver, a bunch of other places, but beautiful place. But I was out there for the Firefighter Burn Survival Week. So it's a bunch, I think it's Firefighter Burn Survivors Week. Sorry. So it's a bunch of firefighters across the country and from Canada that come together in Crested Butte. And they go to the Adaptive Sports Center. So a lot of these guys have been burned over 70, 80% of their body.
Wow.
They've lost limbs, hands, fingers, ears burned off. I mean, just traumatic injuries. I was invited for not just burn injury, but also other injuries. So mine was my traumatic brain injury. They invited me. And what an epic week.
Yeah,
Oh my
man.
God. So you're talking like 6 days. No, 7 days, right? No, 7. Yeah, 7 or 6 days.
Yeah, 7 days.
But it's cool because at this Adaptive Sports Center, they have everything for any type of sport for people with any type of disability or ailment, which was amazing.
Oh, wow.
And all these people are trained in like not just winter sports, snowboarding and skiing and all that, but they took us rock climbing, like legit rock climbing.
That's dope.
Yeah, the belay lines on the man. And I used to rock climb a lot, like gyms sometimes outside, but
This is real rock climbing.
yeah, I was like, yo, this
You're
is
in a
some
mountain.
white people shit, dude.
Yeah, right.
What's going on here, man?
Well, ring that bell.
Yeah, when I got up there, I was like, yo, there's like nothing to hold on to. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
We just put this chalk on our fingers.
Yeah. But
Chuck it up.
Like,
well, and it's been a while since
it's
I
awesome.
rock
Yeah.
climbed because my
Yeah.
injury kind of made me a little, like, it's weird. I'll jump out of planes all day, but for some reason I've lost confidence in some other things. But Pete Dern from Fresno Fire was there. He fell through a roof.
Damn.
Yeah, he retired out, and Daniel Lyon, he was on a crew and got unfortunately his crew was burned up and passed away. He survived, but they're out there, and they're forever changed.
Yep.
Their skin, everything looks a lot different on their body. And Pete, he lost most of his fingers, his hand, and same with Daniel, he lost some of his fingers, or they're shortened up and stuff. And I remember being like nervous, and this is like our first day. And these dudes are rock climbing. They're making it happen.
Oh, so you guys did day one.
Day one.
Yeah,
yeah
day
that's
one.
crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're
Set
up
the
there,
pace.
dude.
Yeah,
They're rock,
right.
yeah.
Set the tone here,
Yeah,
baby.
right.
Well, I'm like, and it was cool because what it did is it brought a bunch of us together who have these, who've been severely injured, and you're seeing them like pretty much overcome fear and realize you can still do normal things. You can still be normal. You may have had an accident or something's wrong, but to see Pete and Daniel rock climbing. And I'm like sitting there like, oh, I can't, like my head, I want to go to the head injury. I'm like, oh, dude, I got to go up there.
Yeah, bro, you got to make it happen.
I gotta
You have
go.
to.
So it was cool, man. They took us mountain biking another day, and we hiked a couple days, and then we also hiked and stayed overnight, which was absolutely freezing.
Wow.
To Lamphir Lake. It was like up at the top. But I just want to give a big shout out to the people at not just the DC Firefighter Burn Foundation that put this on, but in Crested Butte, the Adaptive Sports Center. They are amazing what they're doing there for people. Because even, Daniel couldn't ride. He's never ridden a bike since his accident. He just like, with the burns in his skin, his hands and everything. So they have like recumbent bikes for everybody. They have different style bikes for anyone that has any, like even if you're
Like prosthetics or anything like
yeah,
that.
exactly. I mean, dude, the capabilities that they have and what they do for people who are injured to make them feel like normal again is amazing. It brought me to tears a few times. I was like, dude, this is an important place.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this place is amazing. So They had bikes for everybody that we could use. We went on our hike. We had our own packs. We hiked out, a couple miles up to this lake. I jumped in like an idiot.
Yeah, man. That's what's up. Yep.
But it was really fun. So I want to, we had, trying to remember, we had Cam, Rachel, Amy, Richard, Nacho. What's up, Nacho?
Nacho.
And a bunch of other people who are, I guess you could say instructors or guys there that kind of specialize in adaptive sports. Amazing.
Nice.
Amazing people, yeah.
How many of you
awesome.
were out there?
Oh, gosh. At least in my group, there was, 10 of us?
10 of us. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. That's what's up, bro.
Yeah. It was really cool, dude. It's something I think definitely changed me for the rest of my life. Because I was a roommate with Daniel, and his whole crew unfortunately was killed and burned up, and to see him happy and just like, hey, this is what happened, but I'm getting through it, and he's engaged now,
Awesome.
which was great. We had so many good talks where he wasn't dating anyone at the time. It was Burns, and he thought, well, he came out of his coma in the hospital, like I'm never gonna be able to have kids or be married. No one's gonna want me. And it ended up being this girl he was friends with for a long time. Just a beautiful story. I remember just hugging him. I was just like, Daniel, I'm so happy for you. Like nothing's impossible, bro. You found your love.
Yeah, man.
So they live in Wyoming now. She's going to school, some specialty school that she got into, which is a big deal.
Nice.
So he retired. He's out. He's not doing anything anymore, which is really cool. But huge perspective change, and a lot of healing. I know happened for me and for those guys, like mentally, physically, spiritually. It was just really cool to be out there and have fun. We didn't have to worry about anything for a week besides go out and just have a good time.
Right.
If your meals are good, your lodging's good. We got all the stuff for your sports taken care of, and then to talk about each of our stories because we don't say it much, And for some it's hard to talk about, and some it isn't. But you get like-minded people who are all firefighters who've been through traumatic injuries and realize, hey, I'm not alone in this.
Right.
I can get through this. Like, this seems impossible, but if you can do it, I can do it.
Right.
It's very, very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Good week. So these guys are absolutely going to be friends now for life.
Oh, forever.
Oh yeah. And you have Luis Navarez. He lost his arm. Got a power line or something like that in a tree. Just freaking rocked him, dude. Lost his whole arm, and he came back. He was the first, I think, amputee to come back. I want to say on the floor.
Yeah.
And then he went through the ranks and he became the fire chief.
That's so dope.
The fire chief, dude.
Man.
So it's just cool. It's really cool to see and be with these people and hear their stories. And me, I love hearing stories. So I was just loving it, dude.
Yeah, man.
And then the alcohol at night was amazing. So.
Hey, you gotta loosen up,
Right,
Oh
bro.
yeah, dude. With the boys, man.
Well, what's so neat about that is being in that profession. We hear about these stories because a lot of those names that you listed, there's normally like either policy changes or like training opportunities because of the injuries of these individuals that goes like nationwide. Like it's not just subject to each department. So you kind of like when he was rifling off these names, I was like, oh yeah, like I heard that guy, I heard that guy. And
Never seen him in videos.
Well, one of them, yeah, I was gonna say like they do this huge thing with Edison, or puts, I don't know, was it Edison or they put on a class for electrical safety. And it's a very good class, and you learn a lot. But one of the stories I shared was this individual,
yeah.
just something like, and I don't want to butcher the story, but the takeaway was there was a call where there was a power line down and there was like a tree branches down and stuff, and this guy was going through trying to help somebody, and he didn't see that the branch was touching one of the lines because just all the shrubs and the bush, or I don't know how to say that, the tree bush, because of the thing.
Yeah.
But moved. Don't laugh, dude. But moved it, and it was charged. So
Right through him,
it
dude.
grounded through him, and he
Oh
lost.
my
I think it
God.
was from. I remember being
Yeah,
from
it's
his
just
like
below
elbow down, right?
Just
Or-
below his elbow. So part from like here down is gone.
Damn.
Crazy.
But dude, he has no problem talking about the story, and it was really cool because a lot of the people on this trip were very big incidents that made like national news. So
You were
which
saying?
it was really interesting though because, and Lewis brought this up. He said, "I want to hear your guys' stories from you, not from the
news,
news and the media." And every single one, we even had Steven. I'll just say Steven because I know he would. I don't know if he's ready to be on the show yet, but he's one of the LA City firemen who was caught up on that truck that got burned up in 20...
Nines.
What's that?
Truck. It was like truck 9.
Truck 9. What year was that?
That was 3
The
years
hash
ago.
oil or something like that?
Yeah, it was the hash oil place that exploded.
He was
through the roof.
So that one was another big one. Steven was there, and dude, rad guy, young dude. He actually moved to Texas now. He's sick of California, so great move, Steven.
Good for him. Good for him. Yeah.
But even hearing his story, he was even like, "Yeah, the news had it all wrong, dude."
Wow.
And then even talking to Pete Dern with his story, he's like, "Dude, yeah, this is what happened."
Yep.
You know, it was good to hear it straight from them, even with Lewis and his, because you always hear side stories. Oh, what an idiot! Like, why would he grab? It's like, no, he was just doing his job, and it blended in. It happened, and it could happen to you. So be careful.
Yeah.
So to hear the stories come straight from them, from their mouth, and not to hear what the media has to say was really cool.
Yeah, man.
Because they tell it in such detail, like how it changed their life, and when the fanfare is gone, how you not fanfare, but all the attention. And then you really got to deal with what's going on. Like, this is something that's changed my life forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I lost fingers, hands, my ears are burned off. Now this is my new normal. But the perspective change and how happy these guys are now in life, even though they have, these things that have changed them forever physically, they're still rock stars.
Right.
I mean, Pete Dern from Fresno Fire is probably the most happiest person I've ever met. Always
So
laughing.
dope.
Yeah, it was rad, man.
Yeah.
And we just sit there, at the end of the day for hours on top of this. There's like this roof, or we had this whole plaza kind of thing to ourselves, and we just sip on whiskey and drink and just talk and laugh
Just
all
laugh.
night.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know. I'm sure it was for them, but it was just so nice to. For them, they even said he's like, God, it feels so good to feel like I'm back in a group of my, peers and guys again, like being in the fire station, just laughing and making fun of each other and doing our thing, because I guess from what I was told, excuse me, but when we come, this is like I think they're a 10th or 12th year doing this.
Okay.
They go to this Adaptive Sports Center. They always give the staff like a briefing. They never do it with any other group. Like, hey, these are firemen. They're a little rough.
Yeah, man. That's what's up.
Yeah, they're gonna push the limits a little
Yeah,
bit.
Right.
it's so the staff, like, they get talked to, like, they're they're a little rough, but they mean well. Just take it as it comes.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny. It was a good time, man. I really support what's going on there.
I love that. So they have these constant reminders of like what their life is now going to be, and then what I love is that it seems like they focus on the brain and they focus on changing your life, but using those reminders, to your best benefit.
Yeah.
Like still getting out there, still getting after it, doing what you love to do, but changing, changing you psychologically, and using your body to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I always thought, like, how many times have I held myself back? Maybe now, but also in the past. I can't do this. I can't do that because whether it's fear or I don't want to work for it, whatever it may be. And then, you have Pete and Daniel, these guys who have been burned over 80% of their bodies and lost parts of their body, forever changed. And they're out here hiking with all this gear, staying overnight. They're mountain climbing. They're rock climbing, they're mountain biking, they're making it work. And the best moment out of this entire trip, I really got close with Daniel. We shared a room, and dude, it's like being at work, right, dude? We're fucking drunk at night, and then you're in the room together just talking mad shit. It was great though, right? But I remember
you don't drink at work though.
No, we don't drink at work.
Just want to clear that up real quick.
But the laughter that happened in the room, having a good time, and then it was mountain biking. And he had to use the recumbent bike because he had, it was too hard on him physically just from what has happened, or he hasn't tried it in a long time. And then I remember just saying, like, dude, why don't you ride my mountain bike? I'll get on the recumbent bike. And we were already back there. We had, mountain biked a few miles in. He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, let's do it. Everyone encouraged him to. So I gave him my bike, and I got on his recumbent bike. And sure as hell, he fucking rode the bike for the first time since his accident.
No way. Yeah.
And dude, like, I guess we choked up now, but to see the smile on his face was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, from freaking ear to ear. And he's like, I haven't ridden a bike since, like, I feel, it was cool, feeling normal, feeling like he could be like everybody else. Now, the downside of that is I had to ride a freaking recumbent bike on dirt trails.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that bike. I told him, like, Daniel, like, this is harder than riding a bike. He's like, I know, man, it's different because you're like, you're kind of laying down, your feet are forward, and you steer. Like, you're laying down.
Oh, like you're sitting in a recliner kind of.
But you're on mountain bike trails.
Yeah, it's not like a flat road.
Right, exactly. You're going down a hill.
So like you're going uphill, and that was hard. I told him like, dude, this is like good on you for being able to mountain bike. This is hard.
Right. Yeah.
But that was one of the best moments to see him say, "Oh my God, I can actually ride a bike again," and seeing how happy he was. Like, it was priceless.
That's amazing, dude. And you wouldn't have never got there.
No.
If you would have never said nothing.
Yeah. It was just awesome, man. So a huge shout out to Adaptive Sports Center, DC Firefighters Burn Foundation, Lionel, Charlie, Lewis, Steve, all these guys, Pete that I met this week and hung out and spent so much time. It was priceless. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait for next year.
So dope.
Yeah, that's gonna be really good.
That's so cool to hear. Because you mentioned it, like once I don't want to say novelty, but like after a big incident where and it makes national news and it's like this
Popular
tragic
for a
event,
minute.
it's popular for a minute,
Right.
and then it's that popularity, or maybe where everything seems like it's in support of you, goes away.
Right.
And now you got to live the rest of your life, and depending on what the injury is, if disfigurement or like you said, like the burn, like that's if most people I don't think understand that like the amount of like pain and shit you go through when you have these massive burns, because you're doing probably 10s of 20s of skin grafts and different stuff that's like it's so hard, and each time they do it you have to like retrain your body in that area to how to move again and strength and all this stuff. And it's so great to hear that there's these kind of organizations that can come and give you an opportunity to recreate that feeling, right? Like you were saying, like it was great. Like we got to sit down and bullshit, and I felt like I'm a part of the group again. Because depending on where these guys are at in their career, that's maybe everything that they've known for the last 15 to 20 years. Yeah. So it's like you get so ingrained in that, and from to go to that to nothing. It's probably even more of a mental, psychological, effect
Right.
or lasting going forward. So it's so cool to hear about that. Hopefully there's, not to take business away from them, but like hopefully there's multiple things that can, that should be, I don't know. I feel like that would be huge to have that, be so readily available instead of it being like a one-time thing, to do. Like people should have the opportunity to get into those kind of stuff. And I know there's there's a ton of things about it, like with like Wounded Warrior Project and like stuff through the military, but the police, fire, first responders, whatever, I think that should be super accessible, and hopefully they keep growing and can expand.
Oh yeah. And the hard part is too, and we were talking with like Lionel, is finding our first responders or firefighters who have been injured or hurt that want to come on the trip, but some of them aren't ready.
Oh, okay.
They're not ready to take on that challenge or to talk about it. So it's and I understand, because it's sometimes my injury was hard at first, and some of these guys aren't ready to talk. They're not ready to be in a group yet and go through, and challenge themselves. They still need time,
Gotcha.
And that's it was interesting. I didn't think about that when Lionel told me.
That's a good point.
I was like, oh wow, because there's still, it's not just a trauma to the body, but that's trauma to your mind, what you've been through, So that I can see how it's tough for some of our firefighters that we reach out to have them come to this Firefighter Burn Survivor week, but they're not ready.
Dang. Well, there's a lot to that,
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's pride or whether it's, you're just not mentally ready to, not subject yourself. That sounds like a bad thing, but it is. You know what I mean? To put yourself in another situation, because you're kind of, I think that's part of you coming to grasp with what you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you have to be in that set. So
A lot of vulnerability.
100%.
You
You have to be, yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I noticed with these guys this week too. The vulnerable. What was it?
Vulnerability.
Is it vulnerable? No, vulnerable.
It's kind of like you said, Jordan. like,
Vulnerable.
it's
Sorry.
cool that's someone's doing this for us, for what we do, because I don't think there's enough of it out there.
Oh, yeah.
And firefighters, we're typically type A, tough, don't want to talk about things. So to get in a room and to be able to trust your peers, and it all stays in that room, and whether you want to get upset, cry, whatever it is, and just chat and have a good time, it's cool. There needs to be more of it.
Definitely.
So shout out to my boys at DC Firefighters Burn Foundation. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great freaking week.
Shout out.
There it is.
Okay,
We'll speak-
we'll speak what?
No, go for it.
Well, they're coming on. So
Oh yeah, no, dude, awesome.
it's gonna be cool.
I
Pete
can't
Dern's
wait.
coming on. Daniel will be here one of these times. Lewis, Lionel. It's great stories and great things to do with Foundation. So it's gonna be really good.
Perfect.
Yeah, November. What's up? Okay, so we're gonna move on to the Russian pipeline. Jordan, take it away, baby.
That was a segment, huh?
Yeah, that was a big one.
Hey, welcome. Welcome to the world news.
Can we also acknowledge that Jordan has an iPhone now?
Hey,
Jordan has an iPhone. This is a miracle from the heavens.
and a brand new iPhone. What's that? A 14?
Yeah, the 14 Pro, Mister. I don't know what other ones they make. I think they make one that's a little bit longer, but I was like,
Ever
That's
since
mine. Yep.
I don't need that.
I've known him. I've known him for like 15 plus years now, or 10 plus years, whatever it is. And this dude's always had a Droid. I'm like, dude, come on.
Come on, bro.
He was thinking, this is my one way to stick it to the man because everyone has an iPhone. I'm like, yeah, but you turn the chat green.
You
And it
turn the
sucks.
chat green.
Yeah, dude, you're
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah, I was.
You were, but
I
not,
was.
Okay, so how was it when you switched from going from Android to iPhone like a week ago? Was it easier? Was it more fun? Do you like the camera? Do you like everything about it? What's up?
Or was it worse? I mean, you know, talk to us.
I'm glad you guys brought this because we can do a product review
There we
as
go.
well on the monthly review.
Yeah.
So yes, lifelong Galaxy person. Never had an iPhone, but I have like an Apple laptop and like we use like a tablet sometimes at work. You know what I mean? So like I'm somewhat familiar with the process. What I was bummed out about is because the platforms are so different when you go to upload your stuff to the next phone.
Right.
It doesn't work the same as when you get a new phone. Like even
you lost
where
pictures,
even
right?
even where your app placement is,
Yep.
it's probably it mimics exactly what you had, right? So which was the same thing with the Galaxy phones. They would do the same stuff. So it was like made the transition to the new phone super easy. In this case, one thing that was good is that all my contacts came over, which is great. So I don't have to keep manually putting those in. Problem is that any group text that I had
Yep.
did not come over.
Because you were green, fool.
I know.
Exactly.
know.
And that's why I couldn't get your text a couple weeks ago.
For
'Cause I had
sure.
an issue with mine. And yeah, dude. So yeah.
Yeah, no. So it was kind of like, it was weird because I was like, what the hell? Like, okay. Because like, I found out that there's actually a lot of information that gets passed along within the groups of stuff where, you know, like where you kind of rely on going back to the group message and not. So now I'm like, okay, well, I just have anybody who I've had an individual text message with.
Recently, yeah.
And so that was kind of frustrating. The apps didn't transfer over, so that's a little frustrating. I had things set up, but all in all, dude, it's super easy to get through. You know, like I said, I had a little bit of understanding, not like, you know, customizing it or anything, but just how to basically go back and forth.
Right.
But dude, the phone's rad.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's a brand new phone, so I feel like it's operating faster, but
Oh,
I feel
right.
like that's how it goes all the time, and then it'll slow down.
When
as
you
it-
first get it, it's so fast. And
Yeah.
then, you know what's funny is like, you know, your phone is great and you got the new update. This past week, I had issues with my update and
Yeah.
it completely shut down my phone. Nothing was working. My reception was all over the place. There were so many issues with it. And I went
shit.
to Apple and they were like, what? This is weird. All right, well,
you were
let's
talking
do all.
to a droid, weren't you?
You had a droid in there.
was a
in one of the
droid.
threads. Yes,
yeah.
the mole.
The green bubble destroyed your phone.
Right, bro.
Yeah.
And then I went through 2 updates, man, and my phone is still like kind of weird. It's funny because right when that update issue happened, you got your iPhone. And
Yeah.
then, so that, you know, the texts were blue, so it's cool, you know,
Yeah.
it's fine. But yeah, right before that, they were green and lost all my texts you know,
Yeah.
with the group. But yeah, the update, I don't know, for whatever reason, it gets, you know, a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
And it's like there's something corrupt in there. And
Yeah.
my phone was one of them, but I'm glad that, you know, you weren't.
So I'm sorry
you
to
didn't have
ruin your
experience
phone,
that.
basically.
Right, dude.
We sacrificed your phone's availability for me to get into the group. I appreciate it, Sam.
That's
Thanks
what
for being
happened.
cool about it.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
No, yeah, it's cool. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a phone, but it's also like, I say that like loosely because it's also basically everything that you do
was
in
gonna
your
say,
life
your
now.
life, yeah.
So I still have to cancel my other phone actually.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
What? Oh.
Yeah, because you can't do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get my number. So I had to open it up while that was still going.
Is there like any way you can use that phone for like setting it up at home and watching your? I've seen this. Like, there's an app where, say you got a new iPhone and you already paid off your other one, you can use your old phone as like a camera that you can log into, and so you can see what's happening at home.
Oh, like a security
What?
camera?
Yeah, like
Oh,
a
for
baby
sure.
monitor.
Yeah, yeah.
So, or I've seen a lot of people, they do it with their dogs. They'll plug it in and put it on the ground like by their food, so they can see the dog and like talk to him and stuff.
That's
Maybe.
dope.
Yeah.
I'm for sure you could probably run
There's gotta be
a
something,
program
right?
through that. Absolutely. I can't do that with my old phone because here, let me shit on Sprint for a second.
There you go. Get it.
So here's what I don't like about the company Sprint.
SPR. I love it.
Yeah, it's the
I used to have Sprint. I have AT&T now.
I had
over it.
I had Sprint for 13 years.
Wow.
Right?
Loyal customer.
Okay. I don't not one to bitch when it comes to it, and even those payments sometimes, like, what the fuck happened here? If I could pay it.
And the reception?
You know? I mean, that guy. Terrible.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's the reason why I switched carriers is because every time I'd ever go out on a fire, I'd be the only person to not have reception. You know? And I got sick of having to borrow people's phones to call my wife.
Yeah.
Like, hey, honey, just in case you're wondering, I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm alive.
We need to switch phone carriers. Right. And then that, took about 3 years. And we finally did it. We actually switched to Spectrum.
Hey.
You have Spectrum?
Wait.
Spectrum Mobile, baby.
Are you serious?
Spectrum?
Yeah.
How is that?
It's great. And,
Really? Does it compare with like AT&T and Verizon?
Yeah. So the thing with Spectrum is Spectrum uses all the Verizon towers.
Oh, what?
So until Spectrum, now here's the caveat: is unless they branch and try to do their own thing, or maybe if Spectrum like buys Verizon, it would be the other transition of it. Which I'm not saying I've never heard that. I just I'm just thinking of.
I heard on Let's Go.Podcast that Spectrum's buying Verizon.
Yeah, I'd be like, you started the merger. I'd be like, well, I want
the merger
0.5%.
Yeah.
Of every anyway.
That's all.
Yeah, no, so the coverage is good. And the reason why this even happened is because one of the guys on the strike team, I was bitching about having Sprint and how it sucked. And he was like, dude, I had Sprint for, same story. He goes, switch to Spectrum because we have Spectrum at the house. And they do like it's not even a bundle, not a specialty thing. Like, it's just if you have Spectrum, you have the option of getting into their phone service.
Yeah, I have Spectrum Internet.
Yeah, and so it's $60 a month for 2 phones for the unlimited everything.
No, 2 phones? $60 a month.
For both. Yeah. So total of $60 a month. So I was paying
but you bought both phones, right? You didn't do the payment plan.
Correct.
That's what I did.
You paid out.
I bought my phone straight outright. So like my cell phone bill is $51.50.
Right.
Yeah. So that's it's the same thing. So it just tacks on to my Spectrum bill because now it's like because I have internet and TV also through Spectrum. And then so now for an extra $60, because dude, I was paying. So check this out. Here's why I wanted to shit on Sprint for just a second, and then we'll get into more interesting topics.
Yeah, let's get back.
So about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, Sprint started to do like most of the carriers did. Is like, hey, you want the new phone all the time, right?
Oh,
and they're like, of course we do, because who doesn't want a brand new phone,
Every
new
year.
technology, new camera, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
So they started doing something to where you would, instead of paying off your phone, you can lease your phone. And basically it's like lease to own. So every time a new phone gets out, hey bro, free upgrade.
Yep.
It's free. It's a free upgrade. Well, what they don't tell you is that they don't differentiate between the two, whether you're doing a payment plan for paying it off or a payment plan for your lease.
Okay.
Right? So the last time that I went in there with my wife, which was like 3 years ago, we went in and we're like, hey, we want to get new phones, how much are the payments of these going to be? And it was like, and they're always great customer service. Everyone who's ever been in a Sprint store, like for me, always been a good experience. So it's not the employees, it's the corporation. Anyway, they're like, oh, okay, it's going to be this much. I'm like, okay, cool. Under the impression that we were getting into a program that pays your phone off, right? Because I didn't want to lease it. I don't lease anything. Like I want to own it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, cool. And I'm like, oh god, like the bill was like $260.
Yep.
For 2 phones with the unlimited stuff. So I'm like, whatever, we'll just pay this down. It'll take about a year to pay them off, and then we'll be good. My dumbass was just thinking that was our new bill. And over time, that came to be the new, like, oh, it's $260. Like, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know it's 200. Like, I get it. People that are doing great, $260 means nothing. People who don't have that much, $260 is a big chunk of money.
It's $260
to have a fucking cell phone.
Yeah.
That's
2 cell phones, right?
Right.
Got it.
Or have 2 cell phones. One, my wife
plan,
and mine. Yeah. So as this has gone on, I recently was like, okay, we need to, one, we're going to get upgrades. I've been talking about going to the iPhone, and like, let's potentially switch carriers. But T-Mobile now, who runs Sprint,
Yep.
does a deal for first responders. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm like, well, let's see how much this is going to cost. dude, we called in and they're like, oh, no, your phones they're leased. I was like, what?
And you thought you owned it.
Yeah. I was like, what do you mean leased?
Yep.
And she's like, yeah, it shows here that if you want to upgrade, that's cool. But you can get like $300 to break your lease, whatever, that will add it to basically the startup and purchase of your new phone. And I was like, no. Like, I want, like, this is a turn in. Like, this, like, they're like, basically, I found out that I've been paying a leased phone over contract. So I've spent another $1,000 on the year.
Did you get that money back?
No.
Of course not.
So because that was
Sprint sucks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, and I haven't even gotten to this point yet. So because we got to go turn the phones in, I guarantee you they're going to charge me a fee to cancel the fucking deal.
Yeah, you have to pay it off.
God.
Yeah, they're gonna. Well, you can either cancellation fee or pay off your phone.
Yep.
But I was like, I'm gonna spend $700 on a 4-year-old phone that's outdated.
Exactly.
That I didn't even own.
That's so
Like that.
That's so corrupt.
That's what's
Makes any sense.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not right.
And I'm not saying this is nothing special. I'm just venting. And but yeah, so I'm super stoked with Spectrum. I'm
That's
stoked on the
interesting,
new
'cause
iPhone.
I get that all the time,
And-
dude. Mail from Spectrum, since I use their internet.
Yeah.
To switch over their phone service. I'm kind of like, what? Like, who's going to get like...
Totally. I was the same way until I talked to that guy.
But here's what I have. So I have AT&T FirstNet, which is only for first responders, police,
Yeah.
fire, EMTs. And while I was in Colorado, there was only 2 of us who had reception the entire time.
Oh, no shit.
And it's because we had FirstNet.
Hey.
So FirstNet, how it does, it gives you priority over everybody on pretty much any cell tower.
Right.
That's
Like
I
how it's
understand it.
trunked, like you'll get pushed.
Yeah,
your
especially
line
when
will get
there's
pushed to the
natural
top.
disasters or something goes on and people can't get out because everyone's calling. We get priority and we're able to make calls.
Yeah.
So we always have priority since we're first responders. It's awesome.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
But I mean, my bill's only $50 a month.
Dude, that's
Fine.
Well, yeah,
that's
because you
legit.
paid your phone off.
Yes.
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
if I always try to tell people this, like if you can financially afford it, buy the phone outright, straight up. Just buy the phone outright because your cell phone bill is going to be cheaper and it's also going to save you money in the long run.
In the long run, yeah.
Yeah. So like I bought, I can't remember which one this is.
It looks like the 13.
13. I think it's 13 Pro.
Yeah,
It's like
13 Pro,
1
yeah.
terabyte. So I think I bought it for, I think it was like $1,200, $1,300. But not everyone's going to be able to shell out over, a G bar for a new phone. I get it.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to plan and be smart, buy your phone outright and then just
Right.
your cell phone plan. I mean, $51.50.
Yeah, there are fees,
Fucking
that
beautiful.
they tack on every single bill.
Oh, yeah.
and taxes and
Because
everything.
it's not a 0% interest basically on your payment plan. So I mean, you're gonna do what you got to do to get the phone. But if you completely agree, if you have the opportunity to pay it off because in the long run it'll save you money.
It's like anything, right? If you can buy a car cash, buy it cash.
Buy cash.
Don't do payment plans. My God, if you can, don't do it.
Unless you can find like a complete 0% interest, which
Yeah.
does not typically exist.
No.
But
And I think what's interesting, I used to always get the new phones. No, I just
Yeah,
lost
man.
interest. I don't care.
Yeah, it's fine.
This thing works. It's
Wait a
fine.
couple years,
no,
even
I'm
3
gonna have
years.
this phone I'm gonna go I'll be one of those
Uh-huh.
you have the same iPhone for 10 years.
Ancient.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's outdated, and it'll be
Right.
integrated into people's brains.
I just Sam, can we give him a round of applause for finally getting an iPhone, dude. Welcome back to Earth.
Welcome back to Earth.
I finally ascended.
Right.
All right. So anyway, okay. Let's
Russian pipeline.
Yeah, we'll
go
jump
for
into
it.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
so in just about 2 weeks ago, there was it was actually pretty widely covered, but it was interesting because again, it had to do with the Russian pipeline. So this Nord Stream pipeline, what it is a natural gas pipeline that runs from Russia to Germany. Okay, so Germany gets a lot of its natural gas from Russia. So I don't have the percentages down, but it's a solid chunk, right? So it's very important. So that's why when this whole thing with the Ukraine started, Germany was like, we're not for this. We want to make sure, but they can't completely ex-nay Russia because there is one of their a big natural resource, right, that they get from. So moving forward, that was like a year ago, and some back and forth, but it seemed to all keep operating. Now, 2 weeks ago, there was a gas line rupture in the Baltic Sea, right? So one of the underground, a massive one, right? So it's just spewing natural gas into the sea, right? I don't know if you saw any of the pictures. It looks like something out of a movie. So what is interesting about this is that they like Russia's like, what the fuck, rest of the country's like, what the heck, because this could potentially be like I don't want to say like an active war, but now we're like outside of the Ukraine, right? So this is its isolated incident. Now this could be some like construed as some sort of retaliation because of the war efforts with Ukraine, or could be a self-sabotage thing to instigate something. Right. And there's just all this controversy about it because it's just the uncertainties. It's like, well, who do you believe? Do you believe, every person who has a story, right, kind of like has also the self-interest part behind it.
So one thing to go back to real quick, when you say self-sabotage, why would they want to self-sabotage? Is this to start? Because to me, I would think it's done because they want to, someone's doing it to start a war, start some type of another conflict. Who's trying to self-sabotage, so I understand this correctly?
So depending on what you were reading, completely paints a different picture, right? So
depending on the media source.
Right.
Golly.
So depending on the media source, you're going to get a different skew of what this is. So one side is that someone did it to Russia because they're trying to stymie basically a financial resource, correct? Like if they're shipping all their natural gas out, they're getting paid for that. They probably make a fuck ton of money. And, if that's like an effort to slow that down to try to hurt them. So that could potentially be read by Russia as this was an aggressive attack towards us that's outside of the Ukraine, right? So, because despite what everyone thinks, that shit's still happening. And if you haven't been paying attention, we just signed another $12 billion to go in financial.
Did we really?
Yes. $12 billion we just gave to this country again. So now we're up over $100 billion we've given this country to,
I don't agree with that.
And I don't say do whatever because I want to think like it's to help the people, but it's not just to help the people. It's to fund the government and to give them the power to be able to control their purchasing. And I know we've given them a lot of weapons, and I agree that they should be able to defend themselves because of whether you agree or not agree with what Russia's doing. I am not a fan of war at all. So let's keep that out there. So, but I'll tell you this, there's a lot of weird moving parts to this problem.
Very weird.
Right? And if we want to call things what you want to call them, obviously there's a bunch of self-interest on both parties of this. The craziest thing is that the original deal to keep Ukraine from being, a potential conflict area of Russia outside of already, wanting to move into the country and this shit, because like Kiev used to be like, I think that was the capital of Russia for a long time. Outside of those parameters, the treaty that they had made with them is that as long as you do not become part of the United Nations, then there's no reason for us to, basically invade you. Now, there's a lot of other spots on this, but that was like the basic, like, forefront paperwork of showing, like, no matter what, they're not going to ever invade because they're going to agree to not be a potential threat. Like, that was the original agreement, which when they applied to be a part of the United Nations, that negates that, right? So whether you agree or disagree on Russia's influence and wanting to do that, they broke the original bond. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So like I can see that being like, whether it's good or not, they're going to use that to move their own personal agenda, right?
That's the exact explanation, that I heard. Like the reason why Russia would be.
Right. So then it's like, because if they're a part of the United Nations and Russia's not, now we potentially have actual border shared of conflicting interests.
And that could
meaning like, so like the example was used, this was from one of like Putin had an interview or whatever, and he was talking about, he goes, if they become part of the United Nations, then they're going to have the ability to have access to protect that border side with the help from all the other United Nations, not just, Ukraine putting up defenses. Then he goes, that would be the same thing like if Mexico decided to move missile launchers across the border. Right. Hey, we're not going to shoot you. This is just for our protection. But once you do that, you are now, it's like a defensive posturing if there's no need for a defensive posturing
in the first place, right?
So anyway, it's just super interesting. So all coming back to this this pipeline, they're like, there was a clip of Joe Biden talking about the Nord Stream pipeline in February, saying that if the Russians ever attack the Ukraine, because this was before the technical war actually started, that he would make sure that the Nord Stream pipeline gets shut down. So that's where so there's like the conspiracy part of it, right?
I
love it.
Is that if he has come out publicly saying that we're going to do now, he could have meant like we'll just fund Germany so they can get it elsewhere and stop your guys' transactions. But that's not what he said. He said we're going to stop you guys. Like we're going to stop the pipeline. Pipeline explodes. Now it's got like a major reconstruction. So now Germany will be without natural gas from Russia specifically in that meantime. So now it's like, where are they going to get it from? How much money are they going to get it? Can they afford it? Is the right amount? Are we going to get into sales with that? Because you bet your ass the United States is going to jump in on that back end and be like, we'll help you
We got
for
you.
a price.
Exactly.
Which is good. You should be doing that shit. Just use the money smarter.
Yeah.
They never do.
No, I know.
Dude, when you talk
Wes.
about how much, was it 12 billion?
Just this last go.
Yeah, just even that. Why are we not putting that back into our country for our people?
How about the fucking million people in Florida that just lost
Yeah.
everything because, the
Perfect,
Mother
right.
Earth still reigns supreme.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It just seems so crazy to me. I grew up in a military home, and the reality is, I want to tell people, war will always be here.
Right.
Whether it's our country helping others or other countries going against each other. That is a fact of life. That's why you have to have a strong military, and why you want to try to always be a superpower. You want to have control, because the reality is people want to take us out.
Yep.
People fucking hate Americans. I'm going to throw it out there real raw for you.
Yeah.
If you haven't traveled and you haven't gone around, and I have, and many people who listen to this have, people don't like your freedom.
Yeah.
People hate that you are freedom and how much opportunity you have, and they want to take it away. And it's damn near happening almost every day, which is why we have our operators and people who work in the shadows to protect our democracy and our freedoms. And what kills me is that we have this great land, and I hate to say it, is like we're losing our superpower status. And you're going to give $12 billion away when you have Florida that's in shambles. What about our veterans who have a high suicide rate and are killing themselves, are homeless? What about the homeless problem, period, in America? What about the lower income families in the black communities that you said you were going to freaking take care of? You haven't done anything. You just use them for pawns in your political scheme to get yourself in. It absolutely irritates me to death. We could use that money to empower our people and make them better, yet we're giving billions away.
Exactly.
Why?
Well, I have a question. This money doesn't exist, right? Like we just print money.
Of course.
Yeah. So, all that money that you're
it
talking
doesn't exist.
Right. All that
Well,
money
it
that
exists now because we just printed it out.
Exactly.
Do you think it comes in like on pallets? Like they hand them like this,
Dude,
or is it like a digital?
No. I'm going to tell you
$1
right now. It's pallets. I can't say on here how I know that,
Oh.
but I have seen how that money gets shipped from here over to other countries. Sometimes it's digital, and a lot of times it's not. And it's literally on pallets.
Wow.
Fucking like saran wrapped, and you can see it all.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I've
to
seen
me.
multiple pictures of this dude, and like, we got to give all this money away. There's like hundreds of millions we got to start giving out to these countries. And he's like, and I'm like,
God.
because I guess for some reason it's weird. Like they have to physically go and give it to these people. They have to the people have to say the right thing, the trigger words, right? But yeah,
The fact that it's a physical transaction is really interesting, right?
It's nuts, dude.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Now, I don't know if that's how it is with that. If it's like a wire transfer, now you got 12 billion.
Right.
But everything that I've seen and the people I know that are kind of doing this stuff, they're on pallets. It's crazy.
Wow.
That does make a lot of sense though for like countries that maybe aren't as established up. That like I don't want to say third world, but you know what I mean. Like cash would be king there because it's a tangible thing to be able to hand it off versus, how many people are going to be able to run,
right?
Using credit cards and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I feel like probably in like the next couple of years, like some kind of Bond movie or something, we'd learn a little bit more.
Right. A little more.
You know what's something I heard though about the Russian pipeline? Like it was a news article and it came out. It said a Russian passport was found. Did you see that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was just floating there.
Just floating there.
Why would that be?
Yeah.
Right.
Not damaged. Just kind of floating around it was like, so again, right? Because that was the other part of the self-sabotage thing, right? Is that it could have been something that Russia did to be able to motivate themselves to keep moving forward with whatever they're trying to do. Because that they just annexed 4 They're not states. Well, maybe they are kind of states. No, it's like city-state type, but just the 4 geographical regions, the Donbass region, or whatever, in Ukraine, like they're officially now part of Russia. Okay. Like that meant that there's those areas basically voted on wanting to be Russian citizens, and they didn't no longer want to be a part of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. So now.
But is that a real vote?
Well, but that's was this a real vote? You know what I mean? Right, like it's like is anything a real vote really? Because now it's like
is that the video I saw with like they're doing their
hands? Yeah, it was all the leaders.
Yeah.
And but what was crazy was and again, right? It's like you say this. You always have to say everything loosely because what can you really believe, right? But the numbers that were coming out that were in support of going from Ukraine to Russia was like. They were in like the 90% of saying that the votes, like it was like such a unanimous, like they didn't want to be a part of Ukraine anymore, that it was fairly easy to move that over, other than Ukraine not wanting to get rid of those people. But again, right, they're within conflict. Those ones on the border towns are like, fucking, we're out, dog. Right. We're going with these guys. Yep. You know, so I don't know why I feel like I've read so much about this. But anyway, I just find it fascinating. Well, you know what? Let me take that back. You know why I find this fascinating? Because it seems like we are trying to stoke a war that might end in nuclear conflict. That's what trips me out.
That's what it feels like, a world war.
Yes.
But here's the thing: when I say that, we're not going to see. Maybe I'm wrong, but if there's another world war, it's not going to be like World War II when you see people storm. It's going to be so much spec ops, and digital. Taking control of money and using space and satellite. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be so much more like special ops.
Right.
It's not going to, I don't think we're going to see it like it has been before.
No, because
you can do so much from drones and using computers to shut down grids, power grids, their internet. I mean, everything's done off internet, taking out satellites. Right. You can shut a whole country down. Take down their satellites, their power system, and lock up their banks.
And you can keep your nuclear weapons, in the bank. And then you just shut down everything they have.
Can you imagine if someone were to drop an EMP bomb? An EMP bomb would set us back into the Stone Age. If people don't know, that's an electromagnetic pulse. That would shut down everything. You're not going to be able to use your phone, the power grid. Nothing's going to work. And I think it lasts for how long?
It's like...
12 years?
It's not forever. Yeah, it's like 10 years or something.
Like 10 or 12 years.
It's an insane amount of time that anything in that area or that was zapped from this thing basically will be like, they won't be able to recreate it.
Right. It's like a cloud that hovers, right? Is that what happens? I'm trying to understand it, but if an EMP bomb were to happen,
I don't know enough about
it would send us into Stone Age. Straight up. We won't be able to use anything. Like, you're going to be lighting candles at night. We will not be a superpower anymore.
Right.
So I mean, you just do that,
and that's the thing, right? So that's like with all these little stories, not little, these are huge events, but on our media front, right? Talked about it a little bit, and I'm sure like if you watched CNN, they'd probably jump into it. I'm sure if you watched Fox or whatever, there's probably longer segments, but he was even on like Channel 5, Channel 7, you know what I mean? Like those kind of news fronts, and it's a little vague. But it's like, hey, what's interesting is that like you constantly hear like, we're gonna keep Russia down, right? Like they're so weak, Ukraine's beating them back. They're doing all this stuff. But then it's like, okay, well, they're obviously not doing that good if we have to keep sending them fucking money and extra resources to fund this fight. Mm-hmm. And if Russia's so easy to beat back, why do we continue? Like, why does this shit keep progressing?
Exactly.
Right. So it's like, I know we only see a little bit here, and I'm sure it's the same thing over. It's just it's propaganda. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's like if we have another. Not another. If there's dude, China, Russia, us, right? We're the nuke kings. We could fucking end the world if we wanted to, type thing, right? That they have the ability to do that. But if they're being upfront about talking about like, hey, we're not like, everyone talks all this shit like, they're afraid of us using nuclear weapons. They're like, the U.S. was the last person to use a nuclear weapon in the world history, right? Mm-hmm. With in World War II. So it's like, I'm not supporting them, but I'm like, dude, you can't just dismiss this whole other scenario that's going on. And not like it keeps me up at night, but it makes me think about it. I'm like, dude, I feel like shit's a little bit crazier than we are all being alluded to.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely, dude. What's happening with Russia, even China, there's so many behind the scenes things that they're doing because they know we're weak right now. We have a terrible administration. There's no fact about it. They suck. Yep. And they're making us weak. And people have to understand other countries want to be us. And if they have an opportunity to take us out, they're going to do it. And what better opportunity than now? Weak leadership. If I could pulling down our military, not funding it properly like they should. They're not protecting our citizens. And you have a president who has no idea his own freaking name where he's at right now. You don't think Russia and China are checking that out? Mm-hmm. You don't think they're making moves behind the scene like, hey, dude, we got 4 years to do something here. Yep. And I'm not trying to be like scare people here, but that's reality. If people live in this comfort, in this bubble of America, like nothing's ever going to happen, right. You better fucking wake up because something can happen real quick.
Well, no, I was just gonna ask. So I have a question. Let's just speculate that happens, and they take us down, whatever. What happens after that? Like, do they come in and basically not buy us, but just take over?
I wouldn't say that they're going to come in and take over our land, because I would say it's going to be something that's going to knock us out militarily and as a country where we won't be able to be a supplier of goods.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a lot of plaplaces where they don't even have to worry about invading us or doing anything.
That's crazy.
Because you got to remember, Japan leader back in 2002, the Japan leader back in World War II was asked, why don't you invade America? Mm-hmm. And he said that would be, I'll paraphrase, in a way, he said that would be crazy because they have more guns than blades of grass. Mm. We would never attack them.
Right.
We do have the most as far as per citizen with gun ownership.
Right.
Like, and it's so funny like saying that out loud, because I feel like it's like one of those things that like you'd hear like, we're such a dangerous society. We have more guns than this. And it's like,
militia.
It goes, well, and it's something to, it's a funny thing because it's like, I immediately think of like hillbillies and shotguns, dude. Like that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Yep. But the reality is that if we were ever to be invaded, like physically invaded, we do have the capacity to make it really difficult, right? Unless someone who is like wanted to take over the United States was like, hey, we need to just like get rid of the entire country. Mm-hmm. And like, we're never going to use that land again. We're never going to use anything. And then they just blow the shit out of everything and everyone dies.
Exactly.
But then that doesn't make sense if you're trying to expand your own agenda of a country. It does not make sense to you to get rid of everything from that because of the resources and what you can make and money and all this, that, and potentially build your own country bigger because you get a bunch of people to jump ship.
Right.
And there's a show called The Man in the High Tower on Amazon. Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I've seen
great show.
Premise is that World War II, we lost. Germany and Japan took over. And it's actually a great show, but like all of the East Coast, everything there is German. All the West Coast, everything is Japanese. So the story takes place like if you're going downtown New York, it's like there's all these Nazi symbols and all this stuff over there because like the Germans won at the time. It's a great concept for a show. First seasons it picks up, but cool premise, right? It's like spies, like underground networking kind of stuff. But that's kind of like maybe not that aggressive, but I think like what you said, the reality, if you were to beat the United States and now you're in control, it isn't that you'd be like, hey, we're China too, still be the United States. It's just everything's going to be ran and operated by the Chinese, which happens with most of our market already. So, but now maybe the political influence and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean, will come down. But let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, man.
And, but yeah, so crazy with the Russian pipeline.
Russian pipeline's a big deal. I wonder, so we could wrap this part, move on to the next one. Do you think it was sabotage on Russia's part, or did somebody else do it to screw Russia?
So
just an opinion. I'm just
my opinion is that I don't think it was the Russians that did it. I think, and I'm not saying it's the United States that did it either, because we're not that stupid, right? We wouldn't blatantly do it. We'd pay another country to have someone do it. That's what we would do. But just so we can be like, don't know what you're talking about, right? I don't know, man. Like it happens. It doesn't make sense for the Russian to me. It doesn't make sense for a country to cut off a big supply chain of what you can make money off of, because that's one thing we do know is economically they're a little bit more up and down. So they're already fighting. They've already been able to physically invade an area and not have multiple countries in retaliation physically there.
Yeah.
So they probably are like, these fuckers aren't going to fight. Not for this. You know what I mean? So they're going to keep pushing. So to cut that off to what, like further advance that, it doesn't make sense. Like they're already doing what they need to do. Like why doing that to get like global support? Like that doesn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like if a bunch of people died, like let's say it was super fucked up and it was, something that caused a mass amount of death, and now it's like, who's to blame, this and this? That would make more sense in a self-sabotage to gain countries to feel bad or empathetic to their movement. That's why I think someone else did it. And then I think of finding the fucking Russian passport. That's just poor play.
Yeah,
that's bad
stupid.
planning. That's like
It's like not even wet.
That's like, and you know what? I think that came from like a country that maybe not as technologically advanced, because that's like straight out of like an 80s movie.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we got an idea. We'll blow it up and then we'll leave a passport.
Yep.
They're like, fucking genius,
watched
dude.
it, dude.
I saw that on Miami Vice. The other day, you still get the VHSs coming in. They're like, I do. I love them. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know, dude. Like, it just seems too fishy to me.
Right.
But anyway, yeah.
Wild times, dude. The world's crazy.
Can I ask, instead of going to number 3, could we do number 4?
Do number 4, bro.
We're talking about Coolio's death, dude. Take it away.
Oh, well, first of all, dude, rest in peace, man.
Yeah. That is,
Well, first of all,
so yeah, man, this is my first time. I've been like, my phone's been all over the place, like just off the grid. So
You really didn't know that?
I didn't.
until
I
today?
had no idea, dude. I've been really been online a whole lot.
that's crazy because he's a big part of our generation.
Yeah, huge
Part of our generation.
Gangster's paradise,
oh my
bro.
God, yes, bro.
I
So
mean,
dope.
that brought I feel like that was a big cross barrier breaking song for the time, right?
Yep.
It was super popular. It was in the movie. What was the movie?
So many movies.
It was a teacher.
with,
it was a female
started-
teacher.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
She was a school teacher in Compton, right? Is
Yeah.
that what it went down?
Yeah, she went.
Oh.
She went there work there, change these kids' lives, being on the streets or gang influence stuff, and then she gets them to graduate. Great concept, great movie.
Right.
But that song was the movie.
It was.
Yeah,
it totally
man.
was. I remember watching the music video on MTV.
Oh, yeah.
MTV and VH1, man.
Yep.
All the time.
I mean, dude, it was so big. Weird Al made a parody of it.
Yeah, that's right.
how
That
you
was
know how
dope.
right and so that. But that's what I was saying. For that time, probably because that was kind of right when the parental advisory labels were hitting. There was all that movement of the swearing and talking about stuff and music and then it was the rap music and then the grunge rock and all this shit and that song was probably there's people who were in super support of this parental advisory shit, probably bumping that shit in their cars, dude, because it was a dope song.
Still dope.
And it still holds up, dude. It's a rad, so it's the influence, and not to take anything, obviously his career was big either way, but that one in particularly was I don't know. I loved it.
No, I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I specifically love that song too. Just the last part. Why are we so blind to see the ones we hurt are you and me? But then it has this that oh my God, that hard gangster melody.
Right.
It's just that headbanger.
Yeah, it's
know?
just just gets you going, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I love that song.
And the message is so deep.
And I would play it right now if YouTube wouldn't pull us off for copyright infringement. But everyone, well, I shouldn't say everyone. Do you think people don't know that? Let's say
no.
if there's 18-year-old kids out there that
For
don't
sure
know
they
Gangster's Paradise.
For sure. Yes.
What a bummer.
No. I'm saying they do know it.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
dang, because
No, I feel like it's one of those songs. It's like Pac and Biggie and the 90s, even the 80s. Kids still know it just because it's what framed what we listen to today.
Yeah.
But there you go. Yeah. But yeah, man.
that dumb look on my face you see on the monitor,
oh, okay, yeah.
okay, damn sweet.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but Coolio was a firefighter at one time.
Oh, what? What?
Yeah, LA.
What?
Yeah.
For how long?
Yeah, I don't know how long, but I remember looking at someone told me. I looked up a while ago, and there's an article right here from 1994, and he says I wasn't looking for a career. I was looking for a way to clean up, a way to escape the drug thing. He explains it was going to kill me, and I knew I had to stop. And firefighter training was discipline that I needed. We ran every day. I wasn't drinking or smoking or doing the stuff I usually did.
Beautiful.
Wow.
What?
I did not know that. That's
He was
cool.
a firefighter for not long, and then his
quit.
rap career took off.
Because he quit probably because they're like, dude, you can't do your hair like that. You just can't. It doesn't work with the helmet and all that stuff.
Man.
It's like, I'm out.
I can't do this.
I'm good at rapping anyway.
Right. I can make money.
Dude,
Yeah, he was a firefighter for a little bit.
that's so crazy.
That is
Cool.
crazy. Dang. That's ironic as hell.
Yeah.
I'm
Wonder
trying,
if
to,
he's,
I'm
like-
trying to look up these articles right now to say exactly who he worked for. I think it was L.A.
Because that wasn't he from
He's from L.A.
Yeah.
LA?
Yeah,
right?
he's from LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, rest in peace, dude.
Yeah,
59 years old.
59. And what are the speculations?
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
what's
get
the-
it.
Going from one conspiracy to another. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I can tell you what I've heard.
Right. That's
Well,
all
I
we
don't
can.
know if I'm not saying that I believe it, but it's just going to be another one of those. Oh my God, dude, we didn't even talk. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah. But
Wow,
do we have?
Tourette's or
You're good, dude.
what is that? That's not Tourette's. Anyway,
The way you said it was Tourette's.
it was. It sounded right, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So not the backstory, but one of the things that are being stated because of an interview that Coolio did on a podcast with, and I do not remember his name. I'm so sorry, but it was very interesting.
Do we know how recent this was? This podcast?
Yeah, dude, this last 3 days ago, or no, the podcast
Yeah, the
itself I
podcast,
think
yeah.
was last year.
Oh, okay. I was
Or
like,
maybe
what?
in the last year or two, but this guy was trying to get him to come back on. And they seemed to be friends. Like he knew more of the interpersonal workings of it because he kept making references like, we just got to wait before I could talk about this. We got to wait before I could talk about this, that kind of stuff. But what he was talking about was that it was the day after his death, he put out an episode. And, he's just like, I can't believe this is happening. It's like, well, it's my boy and all this stuff. Like, and he goes, he's like, the craziest part about it is that he's like, I don't have the feeling that he died like having a heart attack. Like just straight up like a natural causes thing. And he goes into why he thinks that. And this is where people are going to be like, oh God, or whatever. But so the podcast that he was on before, Coolio was talking about him like having knowledge of these basically like pedophilia shit and all this stuff of inner workings with Hollywood. That he knew and talk like a lot of like gay request stuff from I don't know whether it was like
Producers or something.
It's non-specific, but yeah, like alluding to the fact of like corporate, right?
So he was talking about this
On the podcast.
So he had his own podcast, or was he a guest on someone's?
He was a guest on this individual's podcast. I can send you the video.
And you're saying
I don't know what the name.
You're saying the day before he died is when he said all these things.
No, this was like last year.
Oh, okay.
And he kept referring back to like, I'm just sick of this Hollywood shit. Like I'm tired of the things they put me through. And he's like, I'm at the point now where he's like, people need to know about this. And he goes, but I'm afraid for my family.
Wait, so this didn't get released until recently, right?
This podcast came out like whenever it
Oh,
flew.
it did come out. Okay,
but
good.
this guy is talking about this and showing the references to why he's not okay with just like basically questioning more than it was just random that he had a heart attack and died. And that absolutely could be the case. 100%. Freak accidents happen, medical things happen. If there's a potential for that to be a situation. However, it is another avenue of thinking about it because it's like this is super super powerful celebrity status. He was being vocal about the sexual abuse and stuff, whether it be between like kids or like with him, with like other stuff, like within the Hollywood game. He was talking about how he's afraid to like really like basically name drop and like throw people out because he's worried about his family. And he's like, don't put it past these guys. Like they can make things happen kind of thing. And like, it was weird seeing him talk about it and like, doesn't look like he's fucking weird. He's just talking about it.
Right.
Well, and
I kind of out loud the process how he's thinking. So it's like, so you saw that, and then this happens, and it was like, what? That's kind of crazy. Like, you know, like I was trying to look up stuff about it, and it was like, well, first responders did CPR for 45 minutes before they even tried to transport him. I'm like, that's not abnormal.
I know.
Like 45 minutes is probably a wrong timeline of what by the time the news gets it, it's probably incorrect. But the reality is that if that were the case, when they got there, he was like dead. And they probably worked him for a while because it's Coolio. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's the reality of that. So like I was like, okay, and that has nothing, like basically saying like the first responders were working to not transport to help. Well, that's fucking stupid.
Coolio being, you know, a rapper and where he came from, what we knew him as, I would never take him to lie about something like that or be one to like go left field and like crazy weird conspiracy theories that we don't even believe.
Exactly.
So for him to even just speak up and say that, to me is huge.
What's the benefit to him for doing that? Right. You would think that he really has some type of perspective. And then it's also, you know, he's not really, I don't know what he was doing at the time, obviously. Like if he's in the game, how, you know, if he's producing or what he's doing, but you know, he's kind of further out of the core of like music today.
We don't, you don't hear of him much.
Right. No. You know, so he's further out there. I mean, he's at this point, he's like, you know what? This is stupid. Like, why are we still, why is nobody talking about this? Yeah. And he's just over it, you know? And then this happens, a year later?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The only other thing, like, honestly, I hadn't heard like anything, like, you know, as far as new music or whatever, like from him specifically, other than I saw this is probably 2 years ago, that he done a concert and he was like kind of riffing against the vaccine.
Okay.
Saying that like, you know, but it was more like, this is bullshit. Like you know, people are going to be together. Like it was like a motivational thing, like not like, but basically like stating that like, who cares if you have the vaccine or not vaccinated? And I think he made a claim that he wasn't or something. And not that that's even, you know, a part of it. It's just like outside of that, he probably hadn't heard anything from Coolio in years. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just kind of sitting in the background, you know, and doing his thing.
I wonder if like, sorry, go ahead, dude.
No, it's okay. It just building to the rationale of like, you know, is it really a freak accident? I mean, did he really have just a medical, you know, mishap, or was it something else?
You just mentioned the vaccine, and has anybody mentioned like he wasn't vaccinated, heart attack? You know, could he have been more susceptible?
That's interesting because we've had the sudden adult death syndrome,
right,
since the vaccine came out. So that's a pretty good point.
I just wonder if anybody's mentioned that because there's you know a bunch of other things that are, you know, speculated.
I think from the was that he wasn't vaccinated, right, and so like. I didn't see any, you know, I mean, I feel like I would have seen something of like, because they basically like, you know, whatever you're reading about it for or against it, they normally string all the celebrities that are pretty passionate about it. You know, I never seen him on one of them. It was just relevant. Like I just remember seeing a video clip because I was like, oh shit, cool, it's still performing, nice, you know, and then like, you know, it was like about that instead. I was like, oh, whatever. Yeah. But just kind of crazy. And it's just another one of those, you know, like celebrity trying to expose some kind of pedophilia, trafficking type information, and then they end up dead.
Disappear. Yeah. We don't need them anymore because they're getting close.
Did you guys see? I know this isn't on the board, but if we're going to talk about celebrities, did you see that whole thing with Anne Heche? Do you know who Anne Heche is?
The one who died in the car. She got burned up in the car accident, right? She was driving drunk, went into a house like in Hollywood,
100 miles an hour down the street. Right. The Ring camera videos, you saw those.
I saw all that. Is there something else to it?
No. Well, it's just it's a weird thing because and Anne Heche, Anne Heche is Ellen DeGeneres' ex-wife.
Oh shit.
Yeah, she was in a couple movies like probably in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. Yeah, 70. That was with Harrison Ford, right? Yeah, great movie, fun, you know. But when that happened, did you see the fucking the helicopter camera?
No.
Of what happened?
No.
So, you know, like high speed chases and everything, like they do like the live 5 here. They're like, all right, we're coming down 3rd Street. And, you know, there was like a play-by-play of that over where the accident was. And you saw the first responders taking someone out on a gurney, right? And they had, which was in this case, presumptively, it was Anne Heche, right? Who died, by the way. So from the injuries. Yeah. But what was crazy is that they made it sound like she was like dead on scene. Like they had her, it looked like almost wrapped up, like, you know, blanket over, which I know they probably do that either way, like with celebrities, like to conceal identity and whatnot. But it shows her sit up and like remove the thing and like starts like waving her arms and all this shit.
What?
Yeah, it was wacky because the way that things were basically explained, it made it sound like it was like a DOA kind of deal, and like they might just be removing the body, but like they were taking her out. Yeah, dude, they were not doing compressions. There were no one bagging her. It was like all over the top.
Do you think she paid something off to get her to make it look like she's gone and dead?
I don't know, dude. That's where like, and this is like just, I don't believe it. It's just fun to talk about because it was like, whoa, that's weird. And now look, you can have a massive burn injury or something like that
for a little bit
and be alive for a little bit and die a week or two later, complications, infections, fluids, all that shit, right? So not saying that she had to have been dead on impact, but the way that it was going, you would, you know, they made it sound like they were just removed, like, you know, like, oh, they're just taking her in the ambulance. But it's like, dude, I was watching the whole thing on scene. I'm like, no one's like kind of doing anything, you know, and you got this high profile celebrity. Everyone's going to be all hands on deck, like on scene. You're going to see people on the gurney. They're probably doing stuff. It was just like two EMTs just walking the gurney to the thing, and then you see her sit up, and it was like, and then the camera cuts.
And that's still out there, like that.
It was out. Yeah, well, if I find it, I'll send it to you guys. It was interesting. Not that it has. I'm not saying she has anything to do with exposing things or anything like that. It was just kind of a weird scenario, and I'm like, how come they're always all weird? It's never like
it's never straightforward.
Right.
You know, I still don't think Bob Saget just died in the middle of the night.
I don't think he did. No, there's more to that story, in my opinion.
100%, dude.
But what is real that we can honestly understand? Like, I just finished this book called Sky People.
Oh, you did? How was that?
Dude, I'm going to suggest to everyone to read it because it's this doctor did her research through Mesoamerica, right? Through the Mayan culture. And she went to all the ancient sites and how they're all perfectly aligned. And she always says, too, like, these are all stories of indigenous people where, like, yeah, this is what happened. It happens all the time. And it's pretty shocking because she even says they have nothing to gain from this. They're not educated people. They're very primitive. But then they just tell it like it is. And the stories that I read in that book are phenomenal. And the researcher even they said, hey, we're going to take you to our ancient site and we're going to sit there until this time. And this is when they're going to show up.
What?
And she witnessed a UFO. Come over. Yeah, dude. It's wild. And she's a doctorate. She's a professor I think she's at like Montana State. She just retired. So
you said it's like scheduled and they know like when this.
Well, they call them their ancestors and how like these star people were actually, they regard the Mayan people as like, they respect them a lot and love them. And there's very many different types though of people, like sky people that come back, and they tell you which ones are good and which ones aren't good. And I was like, dude, this is crazy. Oh, dude, no, and they like, you're talking about people like, dude, and they're saying like they had a missionary who was down in one of these villages, and one of the ships landed outside the field, and these two human-like beings that were tall walked through the wall and walked them out. They went and the villagers saw it, and they came back, and then
wait, they took the missionary with them?
Yeah, but they said they came back, dropped the missionary and his family off, and that guy left. Missionary.
So they just went for a cruise and.
Well, they all say the same thing. It's really interesting. I don't want to get too far into it here, but no, it's interesting. It's wild. Like people, these are firsthand. It's amazing. It truly is. It kind of blows your mind. And how one of them was was abducted. Right? He said it happened to me, but they talked to me. They said, "Don't be afraid. We aren't here to hurt you. We're here to warn you." And this has been said to multiple of these indigenous people who don't know each other. They have no electricity power. They said, yeah, they said they love the Mayan people. We are of their race. And that a lot of these structures and temples, they weren't built by the Mayan. Like they had, how can you get three massive stones erected next to each other back in that time with perfect carvings and everything like that? Yep. Come on, right?
Exactly.
But they said, no, right now you are living in the fourth realm, but there's a fifth realm. and soon we're going to come back and take you away because the earth is going to be wiped out.
What?
And then you're going to be in the fifth realm. And they said the 4 horses of the apocalypse are coming, which is biblical.
Exactly.
And this was said multiple times by different indigenous people who don't even know each other.
What?
Yeah, interesting, dude.
So okay,
I was like, wait, what?
This what? And I know you feel the same way, both of you guys. Like this book is out. Like how much, are we really talking about this?
Well, it's just crazy because even in one of those stories, a lot of these indigenous people don't want to talk to researchers or Americans because they end up taking their artifact and their stuff away, using it for their personal gain. And they always say, like, no, we have learned that we don't tell the stories of our ancestors and what's happening because, one, no one's going to believe us, but two, they're going to take it away from us.
America, bro.
Yeah, and he was one of the guys was like 90 years old. He said back when he was a kid, he used to hike into the site and they used to play around and search around and get artifacts. It was like 1912 and give it to American or British archaeologists and sell it. And he said we went in one time, we found a body that was still in one of the spacesuits, and it had a helmet on that went down to the shoulders, and it had something like some screen on its chest, but there was only a skeleton left inside. And so they're like, oh, we should take it to the archaeologist. Well, they took it to the archaeologist. He said, yeah, American soldiers came, took it away. We never saw it again.
Exactly. Gone.
And he said they regret it. Now they try to keep the Americans away and not tell them what's happening because they always try to come and disprove it and tell them, no, that's not what you saw. It's the devil and this and that. And Chris was like, dude, this is just what happened. It's what we saw as kids.
Right.
It's crazy. Dude, it's wild.
We are constantly suppressing shit. Constantly.
Oh, yeah. No, I would suggest anyone to read this book because the book is Sky People. Yeah. And it's not like her telling us, like writing her thoughts. All she does is interview the people and put their words down. So each chapter is a different story of people who had an experience.
And then what's her background? Just what's her background?
She has a doctorate. She's a doctorate degree. She taught at Montana State. She studied like Mesoamerica, Mayans, and all that stuff.
Mayan
Mayan
society,
culture. So she traveled around for like 6 years.
Okay.
Stories.
Wow, dude. Oh my God.
So yeah, it was wild.
That's crazy.
But real quick before we get going, one quick last subject. Jordan, what is that? Tua
Tagavaloa. He was
Sky People down the bottom.
He's already
that
there.
One.
The
Sky People. Turn towards me.
Artie's.
That one.
That one. This is it.
Andy,
Okay,
what?
I'm gonna buy it right now.
Andy, what?
It's Artie
Artie?
6 Killer Clark.
Okay.
It's got an interesting name,
Right.
Dude,
for sure.
I could not put the book down.
Yeah.
Because it's so fascinating and so it's crazy what these people are experiencing, and it's just an everyday thing.
Dude, I'm gonna buy it right now.
It's incredible. The stories of
Sounds
what these
awesome.
people see and what has happened. There was one that blew me away. This happened to. There's 3 different stories of 3 different people this happened to. Don't know each other. Indigenous people. Where they said, yeah, I was in this ship. And it was really bright. I could feel a mist, and it smelled really bad. That's what they always say. They said it's a smell you can't even explain. But when she was there, she sat down and she's like, yeah, I saw all different kinds of people. I saw blonde-haired people, dark-haired people. Because she didn't really know, like, what's America, And she's like, yeah, some wearing nightgowns, some were wearing suits, some look like they're working out in the field, and they're all just sitting there, blank stare.
Wait, this was in the ship. What?
Interesting, yeah. And then she said she tried to shake one of them, and that's when one of the beings saw her, and she was like knocked out. Not like hit or anything, but she just woke up back in her bed. But the crazy part is when she woke up back in her bed, she was naked, and all her clothes were on the floor next to her door.
What?
Yeah. It's a wild book. It's honestly, it's one of the
did she get
best
violated?
reads. Well, that's what a lot of these. Well, some of these women in the Mesoamerica,
aliens, dude.
Yeah.
No, hear me out. They say there's been a lot of the females have been abducted and never came back. Whereas the males always come back. And they're saying, like, in their culture, saying, yeah, they're using the women for making a different race. And one of there was 4 different stories where they said these women, hear me out, they're teenagers,
bro.
right? They were abducted. Hear me out on this. This is the last thing I'll say, but they were abducted, but they come back, and they say they were virgins, right? Very Catholic people in that, still the Catholic in that realm. And she's like, yeah, when we tell these stories, we're trying to say it around the men because it's very embarrassing. But she's like, I knew I was pregnant. I could feel it. I had all the signs. I've never been with a man. There was 3 different women or 4 that had said the same thing. And they said after the spacecraft had left, like they were abducted, they knew it, they don't remember much, but they're like, yeah, I was starting to grow a belly. Felt like I was pregnant. I could tell. And then one night a spacecraft would come and they knew it was there and they were knocked out. And once they woke up, they're like, we had my period. I wasn't pregnant anymore. And they're like, I know for a fact I was pregnant. I know for a fact I was pregnant.
They never had sex. They never
had sex.
Virgins
Yeah, some were like, maybe this is like God and the Holy Spirit, like virgin birth. But nope.
So
And then
Did
after
the baby, she didn't
they
have
never
the
saw
baby.
it. Never had a
It
baby.
just all of a sudden is gone.
all of a sudden gone. And they're like, all of them, they're like, look, we know we sound crazy, but I know I was pregnant. I had all the signs. I was growing up, but like all this stuff was happening. And then a ship came by over the house again, and we saw the lights. And then I woke up back in my bed, and I wasn't pregnant. It's like they came and took the baby.
artificially inseminated them.
I'm gonna be like, if I ever get abducted, I think the first line of questioning would be like, "Were you guys hanging around Bethlehem about like 3,000 years ago?"
Dude, okay, here's
Just out of curiosity.
Well, here's one that I have so many stories. Here's the last one I'll tell you this book that really, because I love animals. And this guy was out in the field with his dog, and this is down in South America. And he said his dog started barking and getting crazy, and there was this huge craft that came down. It was dark. He saw that silhouette of it. So it was like it was a big cigar-shaped thing. Mm-hmm. He said he got scared, so he hid, but his dog stayed. And then he tried to call his dog back, and the dog couldn't move. And then he saw his dog get taken, gone.
What?
Yeah. So
Like
he's
just sucked up. Yeah.
gone.
Oh my God.
And a lot of these stories. But here's the thing: it was witnessed by another person. Another person witnessed it that was on the road going home. So a lot of people who get abducted, like people make fun of, like, oh, they go up in a light. No, it's fucking true, because people think they're alone. They think they're crazy, and they get abducted. They came like, hey, dude, are you okay? I saw you go up in a beam of light and there's some craft. So, anyways, he goes back.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
he goes back out the next day.
Yeah.
He finds his dog is placed back, but his dog can't bark anymore.
Oh.
And his dog's afraid. So he takes the dog to the vet, and the vet goes, your dog had his vocal cords perfectly surgically removed.
What?
Yeah, he's like, his vocal cords are gone.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Dog could never bark again. It's crazy stuff, dude. It's
All right,
a wild.
I think that's really
If
interesting.
you want a good book, read Sky People. It's truly amazing. These are indigenous people who have nothing to gain and are making any money off of this. They're just saying, yeah, this happens all the time. We always see it.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just like, it's crazy, dude. Great. It's a great book.
That's why they're probably like so low key on like the world spectrum. Like they don't give a fuck. They're like, yeah, these guys are fighting. They're like, listen, these are the least of our worries.
There's so much bigger
what's
things.
funny?
in the air.
They
Forever. That's where they live.
They live up there.
They say that in the book. Some of the people, they say in the book, like, we know what it is. The villagers know exactly what's happening. We know these are our ancestors. And like people always try to tell us like, this is, demons or this and that, and try to explain it away, but like, we don't even care.
Yeah.
We don't care because we know they've spoken to us. We know which ones are good, which ones are bad.
Wow.
It's crazy.
It's like
stuff.
a way of life, man. It's like these are just they just come every so often. We say what's up.
There's a map too at the
Hey,
end.
we don't get a bad one this time, but last one was pretty cool. So.
Yeah. There's in the back of the book, she has a map. She traced out every ancient site she went to, and I was like, I'm giving myself 5 years, and I'm going.
Yep.
I'm saving up. I'm taking that trip. I'm gonna want to talk to these people. I want to see some stuff.
Yep. See some crazy
man.
stuff. Oh my God.
We should do a podcast at one of the sites.
Shit.
Oh my god,
We'll be
dude.
like,
Yeah. Hey, where did
I'll be like,
Jordan?
what'd you say?
Yeah, where did Jordan go? Fucking nano. Hey, real
Yeah.
quick before we, because we're running out of time. The last one was it Tua?
Yeah. Tua Tagavaloa.
yeah. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is gonna actually probably should have segmented this after the first segment. Professional football player, quarterback for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Second or third season, maybe it's his
I
third
think it's
season.
Third. Yeah.
Third season now. Slated to be a very good team. They were 3-0 up until I think, or no, this is the fourth week. Yeah, so they're 3-0. But so last week, or I'm sorry, the week before, he had a head injury in the football game. Got hit.
He rolled back.
Got up, stumbled down, looked disoriented. I'm not a doctor, but I do have some medical experience. and he got his bell rung like hardcore.
I think it's important to mention that he, the connection with the grass, with the turf,
Yes.
is what caused the,
Yeah, because where he got hit wasn't as detrimental to like getting hit in the head as much as when he hit the ground, the way he hit the ground. Yeah, so it's called a coup contra coup injury.
Oh, okay.
It's when your brain basically goes in your head, more so like when we're talking about like a traffic accident, get rear-ended, things like that. But same thing in his head when he hits the ground, and with everything in the NFL and CTE and head injuries and all that, because over the last couple of years has been a pretty hot button issue. Normally in the games, they bring him out to the tent and their doctor or medical evaluator goes in there, asks some questions and stuff. And in this case, Tua said, "Hey, it's just my back. It wasn't my head. It's my back." And it's like, whoa, dude, your back injury doesn't make you look like you have like a syncopal episode or what you pass out like when you are just walking. You know what I mean? That's not normal.
Also, like, don't they, when, coaches and medical staff see the way that he recovered, after he got up, he was just wobbly.
See, I don't know,
don't
because
they elect for, no?
they're supposed to, but here's the
Right.
thing. You got now. If I remember, this is professional football, correct? Right?
Yeah.
Professional and college. There's a lot at stake.
I was thinking
a lot of money,
Exactly.
and you want to win. There's bonus. There's a lot of pressure for these guys to do well.
so.
Yeah.
So
there
who's to
is.
say like, I didn't see that happen?
Right.
Well, I mean,
Like,
it was
happening.
right.
but this was on like the main stage. It was against a hard team. It was a big game. And again, the vested interest of winning is predominantly what supersedes over the individual care, right? And that's the argument. That's the problem.
Reality.
I think it
in
also
general.
but it also wasn't like Kobe saying no I got this no I'm gonna stay in the game. This is Tua's been in the league. Yeah, he's dope,
Dude, he's
solid.
a gamer, dude.
Gamer.
He plays hard. He's
Right.
fun guy to watch play football because he's in.
right. But he's only been here. It's like, hey man, you're an investment at this point. Like we
Yes.
need you. Like sit down. No, we'll figure it out.
When I saw the video, I was
Yeah, bro.
I saw it right as it is raw, but then I saw a medical doctor who did like a TikTok, and was it a doctor?
What?
Yes.
And he broke it down, and dude, it's so sad.
Yep.
It's so sad what happened to him and what he and other professional athletes, like football players, are doing to themselves
Every day.
When I listened and saw that and how he broke down, him getting up like this is what's happening in his brain and his brain stem.
Wow.
Now this shows that this is happening in his brain right now. I'm just like, dude, this guy's killing himself. It's so sad.
And that breakdown or the footage of the first injury is like, that's probably going to be shared in a lot of classrooms because you got to see a direct injury and then immediately the process of him dealing with that, and that he was messed up, and it was short, right? He obviously came to because he got back to the tent and was probably like, I'm fine, put me in, I'm fine, put me in, because that's just, he's a professional quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, and he's a, young kid and probably super hungry. You know what I mean? So I get it. But like, I couldn't believe that they, one, let him go back into the game, or two, didn't even put him in a concussion protocol, which is like, a lot of times they do that, but in this case, it's like, why? Why not? Why would you know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, and they came back and they won, and he played okay after that. But I watched the game and I felt like he was a little off,
Right.
but they still won. And then the next week, dude comes back playing again, no concussion protocol, everything, honky dory, all this stuff, takes another hit that wasn't like at his head, but it was up there, but again, comes in contact with the ground hard, right? Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't a hit. It was they played the Bengals.
Yep.
And the defensive end tied him up in the leg and kind of like not suplexed him, but kind of a little bit just by the way that they were rolling, and he hit the ground, but he whipped into the ground.
Oh my God.
And he he hit his head fucking hard.
Yeah.
And that was when you saw like the posturing and like,
it was
like,
bad.
I mean, I think his fingers are broken, which made that look worse. But dude, he was like, laying there, and like, it's like, dude, if he's messed up to the point at which he can't come back to football because of a decision that, yes, I'm sure 10 times out of 10, dude, this kid's going to say, I'm ready. Put me in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he's conditioned. He's a hard worker. He's that guy, wants to win, all that stuff. Everything that you want in the person in that position. Or, fuck, all pro football, right? You want everyone to want to win and play hard and all that stuff. But that's where you as an organization needs to step in and be like, hey, here's our dude that we're putting all our eggs in the basket that he's going to lead us to victory, that they have money, time, X, Y, and Z, invest into this kid. And you want to preach about, we care about all these things. And, dude, look at the NFL. Like we're so invested with not just CTE, but individual players here, movements, whatever. Like they have that much time and money to put in all this shit. Here's your opportunity to show that you give a shit about one of your players.
Right.
A big name player, if that.
Right.
And you let him go do that shit. If he fucking can't play football, that's 100% on the team, the NFL,
the league,
the whole league. Yeah, absolutely.
It's tough, just because we all love football. I grew up playing it. We watch it, but God, when's enough?
Right.
I mean, how much money is worth really you putting your life on the line and possible brain damage or even CTE, like we've talked about, or like we've heard about in Son, even who was the Patriot?
Are you talking about? Well,
Aaron Hernandez.
Hernandez. I was like, Sao.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was on the
Sao too. I mean, but my gosh, it's changing these guys' lives for what? For a game? You know, I get it. We all want to have millions of dollars. But I don't know if I want millions of dollars if I can't even enjoy it because I have brain damage.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
See, I agree with you. I just the other side of that, for at least for me, is that like, look, you do have the choice, right?
It's true. I mean,
if I'm not lying, if I was a gifted athlete in that manner and had the opportunity to play in the NFL, you bet your, especially if I was 21 years old, you bet your ass I'm playing in the NFL.
Of course.
Do I know the ramifications of hitting my head? Sure.
Right.
But when you're 20, you know what I mean? You're like,
that's a good point.
I don't.
But how much damage he's probably playing since a kid?
100%.
So how many hits has he really taken that has affected his brain even before what we saw on
Exactly.
TV?
Dude, 100%. You know, that's why I don't think that question will never be like, there's never going to, because the answer would be like, well, we could turn it into flag football. You know what I mean?
No one
Non-contact. No one ever watched it. It would lose money. I mean, dude, the NFL is, that was the running joke forever, is NFL is bigger than church. You know what I mean? It has a whole day allocated for itself, like today.
Yeah.
Right? And like so many people, fans, players, there's so much money that's involved with this. I don't think that will ever go away. But what I hope for is that, like, even if, sometimes nitpicky injuries where you're like, oh my God, they're pulling them out. Like, if it's your team,
right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, if he wants to play, get him back in there.
Yeah.
But you're the adult in the room. You know what I mean? It's like, there's a bunch of kids who want to win and play and all this shit. Now's the time to go, hey, as a vested interest, because not just we have money and time, but we care about you and your well-being.
Right.
Like, let's make sure this kid's fucking good. And when you get your bell rung, dude, and you're out, you're out.
That's it. Exactly.
And if it takes 2 weeks, because dude, there's so many articles, so many research things done with CTE, and not just NFL, but fighting and all that. Like who was the one? It was an ex-firefighter heavyweight guy. He's got kind of like a Eastern Bloc sounding name. Stipe Miocic. I don't know if it's Czech or not, but anyway, he's a heavyweight champion, also a firefighter paramedic in Ohio.
What?
Yeah, still to this day, stayed on.
Good for him.
Stayed on the thing. Rad seems like a cool guy, and like hearing interviews, just how he talks, you can kind of like try how he is at work. I can like kind of put that together, but kicking everyone's ass, fucking doing great, all this shit. Has one fight, takes a ton of damage. I think it was against Cormier. It was a great fight, but dude, the guys beat the shit out of each other. Damn. He ends up taking Daniel down later in the fight, but took a ton of damage. Like, dude, Daniel Cormier is a fucking machine, dude. And he has haymaker bombs, hits him with. Where I'm going with this is that instead of taking like the year off, it was like, they kept, like, the UFC was kept pressing, like, hey, like, let's get him a fight. And so he's going to fight Francis Ngannou, who's a wrecking machine, who's also the champion right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Dude,
so
solid.
So fun to watch, dude. Massive
so
person. Massive. But, and like really nice.
Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah.
But,
Nigerian. Woo.
Hey, shout out, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking big time. But what was crazy is that fight, he took, like, he was only, like, it was like 4 months later. Like, after putting your body through that kind of battle and taking that damage and then coming back into the fight, because look, I'm not saying Francis wouldn't have knocked him out anyway, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
But Stipe has always had like a crazy chin and be able to take a lot of damage. Another big fucking dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but just went down quick. And that was one of the things we're talking about is like if you don't rest your brain and like give your body the time to recoup and get to that level, the next time you need to perform, you might not be on level. So going back to Tua, it's like this kid gets hit. I mean, you're quarterback. You're taking shots from fucking 6'6", 6'5", 275, just brick shit houses, landing on top of you, fucking beating you down. Like, that's what they get paid to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have a big injury on top of that, and then it's like, hey, next Sunday, you good? Right. Yeah, coach,
well,
I'm
your
good.
brain,
Right.
you know, from my brain injury, I didn't realize how sensitive your brain's an organ. I mean, it is highly sensitive. You get it hit hard enough, it's a natural reset. It'll shut down.
Yeah.
And you're saying like you said, 4 months. I mean, dude, I'm like, about 3 years in to after my brain injury, and I'm still dealing with things. And my neurologist is like, look, it's gonna probably take about 5 years. And you're putting a guy back in 4 months later, like, dude, it's not recovered.
No.
That's crazy.
It's so crazy because we don't see, you know, the brain. Like, you break whatever you break, and it's like, oh yeah, protocol is that you're out for this long, you know. But you can not that. I mean, we saw how he stumbled, and that was all completely legit. Like, he should be out immediately.
Like, it wasn't even a question.
Right.
Everyone who's watching TV just saw him fucking fall down twice.
Exactly.
And his lineman had to pick him up, and he was like, you good, dude? Hit him on the butt. Yeah,
right,
you know?
dude. And I wonder, like, you know, like, first of all, it's the brain, and there's no. I mean, we know that he should have been out, but it's you know, for how long, and is it up to him? And we need to do all these tests. I think also he wasn't hit, you know, helmet to helmet. You know, he had contact with the ground. You know, so there's an argument of like, how bad was it? You know, it was an impact, you know, between two helmets. I wonder like how much that it was like, oh, he just fell. You know, we saw the whiplash, and then we saw the post, you know, what he did after. So that should have been enough, you know? And if you see two helmets collide, it's instant. It's like, okay, both of them, let's see what's going on.
Yeah, totally.
You know? Right.
Because look out, but and that's what you're saying. Like, dude, the ground is just as important. That's why, like, especially playing anyone who's ran on turf. Like, you know that turf is hard as fuck. You know what I mean? And it's like
rug burns, man.
Yeah, and so it's even like, I mean, not just the regular grass would cause an issue if you slammed your head on the grass hard enough. But there's a little cushion there versus being on turf, you know, that like millimeter pad of, you know, whatever they put on underneath that isn't going to sustain you from concrete, which is under that. Right. You know, so it's, I don't know. I felt, I was actually watching the game that he got taken out of, and I lost some money on this one. There's that part. But, you know, when I saw it, it was just like, immediately was like, dude, you guys did this to your fucking selves. You know what I mean? Like, why? What was the, I mean, I know why, because you want to win, and he's the best chance you have in that spot at winning. But it's like,
it's so dumb.
It looks like you don't even give a shit about your guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. Like, and he's like your front runner of your team. You know?
Young guy.
So,
yeah, talented.
Anyway.
Yeah, man.
That's all I got to say about that.
Well, I mean, to wrap that up, dude, you're right. It is his, I mean, he's choosing to do that, which, gosh, if I was professional sport, I'd be out there. You're going to
doing the same thing.
Try and work through, you know, your pain and all this stuff, but you got to know when your limit is, when you know you're truly hurt or injured, you know? I mean, gosh, because it'd be great to have all that money, but if you can't operate normally, you have brain injuries, like it's just worth nothing.
Exactly.
Dude, you know? there was like a little video like of the clip when it happens. Like I thought maybe, I can't remember if it was the first time it happened or the second one. Maybe it was the first time, because when he got up, like he said 38. Like
what?
Right? You know what I mean? So whether maybe he was calling a play, maybe it was something, but I was like, dude, the guy's fucking gone. You know, like
wow.
You know, you've seen people that get their bell rung, dude, and like they are just not there. I mean, they might be moving around and stuff, and it's like
his bell's rung, his heart rate's up from running.
Right.
God,
people get paid a lot of money to be a part of those medical teams that are in charge of that stuff, and the fact that they don't do anything, or not, I shouldn't say they don't, because I'm sure the staff people do great at their jobs, I'm sure, but. That one was extraordinarily obvious, and it was not a question like, ooh, maybe it's bad, maybe it's not. It was like, dude, this fucking kid just got his bell rung, and he physically looks unable to do anything.
I wonder if they're held liable at some point.
You know they're not, dude. You know they're not.
Fine.
You know,
They'll just be like, oh, we tried.
right.
Yeah, fucking.
You know, it's interesting. You mentioned the UFC, and when I know, I don't know how much UFC you watched, Tim, but when you receive a hit like that, or you hit the ground, and you get up even, like half or less than half of what Tua did, you're instantly, the fight's over. If you're stumbling, right? Yeah, dude. If you get up and you're just like that, it's like instant.
The ref would jump in and be like, "Fight's over.
Fight's done."
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
they won't let them fight for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tell them like
They'll
you're
take 'em
done
out.
for some time.
Right.
Well, the medical sanction part for fighting is typically, depending on what state it in, is normally typically pretty conservative as far as like
It seems like they take care of them.
Yeah, and even if you because even if you had a fight and you won and you didn't take that much damage, you're mandated to take an X amount of period off before you can even fight again. And it varies between fighters, and I'm sure they have teams and reviews and everything. And they have to pass medical tests and whatnot. But it's not just like, hey, are you good for next week? They're like, yeah, thumbs up, let's do it. It's not like that.
Yeah.
They have to go through screening. They gotta submit it to the board. The board's got to vote on it. Like there's a lot of moving parts to these things. So and that's what the fight game. You know what I mean? So with this organization being as big as it is and as powerful it is and as, hey, we have the money to do it. Like, come on. This shit shouldn't happen. Are concussions going to happen? Yes. Are injuries going to happen? 100%. It's a crazy fucking game where these juggernauts of people hurl themselves at each other at top speed.
So true.
That's just what it is.
True.
And look, I love football. I love it. This is my favorite time of the year for sports. But I hate seeing that shit.
It's rough, dude.
Especially when it's something that could have been avoided.
Right. Exactly.
So anyway.
Well, dudes, we're out of time. My gosh, this is a good episode.
Yeah, man.
A lot of good
That was
talking
fun.
points, man.
Yeah, bro.
That was excellent. But until next time, my dudes.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, buddy.
Evan.
You guys ready? Yeah, bye, Evan. Take care of yourself.
Bye, Evan.
Yeah. Bye.
Let's get a let's go in 3. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go.
Bye, everybody. And that's it. Thank you for listening in, everybody. I'd like to thank our sound engineer who makes this podcast happen and makes us sound very good, Stephen Clark. And to our first sponsor, 89 Barbers. Look good, feel good, be great. Come get your haircut at 2 locations, Long Beach and in Orange, California. Your appointment can be booked at 89barbers.com. That is BARBRERS. 89barbers.com. Again, look good, feel good, be great. Check it out. It's my barber. He is the man. Thanks, everybody. Bye.